Welcome to VHS Voyage, where we're on a journey to find, watch, and discuss movies on VHS we've never seen or never knew existed. I'm Matt.
I'm Devin.
Today's episode, we're going to talk about
The Gates of Hell.
Welcome to October, everybody. For the month of October, we're going to talk about a horror movie every single week. And today we're going to get into The Gates of Hell, and what a messy movie this was. Hit us with some facts and information.
Yeah, this is directed and written by Lucio Fulci. This movie's actually called City of the Living Dead. It's not even called, I don't know why. I tried to figure that out too.
Yeah, because I mean, on the tape, it's The Gates of Hell, which makes more sense to me. I guess they...
I think Gates of Hell might be the American name for the movie, because I do think this movie, a lot of it's dubbed. You can just tell from the mouth movement.
Dude, I didn't even notice that.
Oh yeah, a lot of it's dubbed, and the director is Italian or something. And almost every actor, I didn't write down a single actor because every actor had like an Italian name. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure this movie, some of it was dubbed. I don't think all of it was, but I think some of it was.
Like some of the actors were like macaroni peritita and fettuccine capalelli.
So that scene where like all those maggots are like flying into the room, they actually used 22 pounds of maggots in like these giant wind machines.
I knew it was real maggots, dude. They just looked too real.
Yeah, I bet those actors were like finding maggots like in their hair and stuff for like a week, dude.
Oh man.
Ugh. Yeah, I guess this is part of a trilogy. The second movie's called The Beyond, and the third movie's called The House by the Cemetery. So you know how we kind of looked at each other at the end of the movie and went, what the hell was that? Yeah. So there's a lot of mystery around the end of this movie of why it ends like that. Yeah. There's no clear answer. There's some rumors that apparently during the edit, the editor spilled coffee on the film, and it ruined the actual ending of the movie. So they had to like reshoot it last second, and it made no sense. And also there's just another rumor that the director was like super impulsive, and he like made an impulse decision at the very end to reshoot it. I'm gonna go with the coffee story though.
I like the coffee story. Yeah.
I will say though, I guess people like this movie though.
I saw that too, yeah.
Now, I will say this, people that watch this movie are going to be people that are kind of gravitated towards a movie like this though, kind of like an obscure horror movie. Because you have those fans of like super obscure horror movies.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed in connecting with the community on Instagram, a lot of VHS collectors love the 70s and 80s horror films.
This movie came out in 1980, but it looks like it came out in 1950.
It does, dude. I thought it came out in the 70s, bro.
It looks like shit.
Yeah, it's rough. Yeah. It's rough. The story's kind of hard to follow because this movie is very messy. The story's very messy. It's all over the place. It's very, almost like it's sloppily put together. The editing is rough. There's some jarring transitions, which we'll get into some of that. But basically, it opens up in New York. There's a group of people doing a seance. They have some vision of some priest hanging himself and then something emerging from the ground. And during this seance, a woman named Mary breaks the link and she ends up dying, supposedly. And I do that in quotes. You'll learn why in a minute. The lady doing the seance thinks that Mary died because of some book that was written 4,000 years ago called the Book of Enoch. And then while the officers are in there, some flame shoots out of the ground.
That's the same. In the Book of Enoch, the killer is...
Before I go any further with the story, one thing I gotta say that bothers me about this movie, dude, the way people react to stuff in this movie was kind of dumb. It wasn't realistic at all. Like, people be seeing some crazy shit and they'll just be like, no reaction, just like poker face. So there's a journalist in the movie. I can't remember the journalist's name, but he's trying to investigate Mary's death. He suspects something. He suspects something weird's going on. And then there's scenes that cut to this random rural town in this bar where there's this weird shit happening at this bar, like the wall cracking and steam coming out of it and like glass breaking. And these bar patrons are just like, oh, well, that's weird. Dude, if I own a bar and I'm sitting there serving my people and all of a sudden a mirror breaks out of nowhere for no reason, I'm going to freak out a little bit. But then after that, if the wall cracks and freaking smoky steam starts coming out of the wall, guess what I'm doing? I'm getting the hell out of there.
Yeah. Maybe he's thinking somebody's in there and they got the beer shits right now and they're just shit. And then somebody just had just a massive shit and the wall exploded and the smoke's coming out.
Oh, yeah.
I just put myself in the body of the bartender. That's exactly what he was thinking.
So then it cuts to the cemetery where Mary's being buried. You got two guys. They're just sitting, the guys that bury the bodies are sitting there eating their lunch above a dead body, which was kind of weird. And then you see Mary's casket. They're getting ready to lower it into the ground. They start lowering it in the ground, throwing dirt on it. And then they're like, oh, it's 5 o'clock. Let's get the hell out of here. And the journalist is there because he's investigating. And he's like, you guys just going to leave her like that? You're not going to finish burying her? They're like, oh, she'll be fine. She's dead. She's not going to care. So they take off. And then Mary comes to life in the casket. She wakes up in the casket and starts beating on the casket and screaming and yelling. And the journalist, at first he's walking away and he hears a noise and he's just kind of standing there.
They kept teasing it so much.
Dude, he should have just heard the noise once and then ran over there.
Legit 5 times they like subvert your expectations. Yeah. He's like, oh, he's going towards the casket. No, he's not. He's like...
So eventually he does finally realize what's happening. He goes and he starts busting open the casket with a mattock. I'm talking taking the pick end of the mattock and slamming it down in the casket. And several times it pokes right next to her head.
Which doesn't make any sense because if he knew she was in there, he wouldn't slam the pickaxe right where her head is.
Also, couldn't he just open the casket? Here. So the old lady explains that. And honestly, I don't even understand. Apparently, some priest hangs himself, and apparently that causes the gates to hell to open in some city of the dead under some town called Dunwich or Dunwich or something like that. And they have 48 hours to close the gates, or all of humanity will be dead. What do you want to talk about?
I should probably just get this out of the way. I did not follow anything in this movie.
Very confusing.
Like you said, it's very messy. There's so many characters and a lot of them look alike. So I couldn't comprehend which was which. And then there's people just dying and then they're coming back to life. Here's another thing that made me very that confused me. We're already watching this in a compressed format, so it's already not going to be super high quality. This movie's horribly lit.
Yes.
And it's very dark, actually dark, not the tone of the movie. The picture is dark.
Very dark.
So I couldn't see things at times. So they were like doing close-up shots on things and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm looking at because I can't even see what it is.
Yeah.
And the movie's dark. I couldn't tell where characters were, where they were located. All of a sudden they're in new places. I couldn't process anything.
No, it was very confusing.
Yes. Dude. Here's my biggest question about the movie. What was the blow-up sex doll?
Okay, so there's a character named Bob, and I was going to talk about Bob. There's a character named Bob in the movie who, in this town of Dunwich, he's known as like the local pervert in the town, right? And there's a female gets murdered, and the police suspect that he did it because he's like the local pervert and he's missing. So I guess he goes in this abandoned house where he just has a blow-up doll that he...
Right. It cuts to him in a house. He pulls out a blow-up sex doll, and then it cuts to another scene.
There's two... I have two positive things to say about this movie, but it doesn't outweigh all the negative. Positive number one, the gory practical effects were really well done.
Yeah, they're really gross.
Really gross, especially one
really
scene.
Gross, dude.
Really gross.
You talking about where the girl vomits up all of her organs?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that because that was gross. Yeah. Let's talk about the scene that he just alluded to. So there's a couple. They're kind of parked at night. They're making out in their car, getting ready to have a little fun. The lady, she's paranoid because it's dark and she's a little freaked out. He's like, "Oh, let me turn on my headlights. Show you there's nothing here." Turns on his headlights. There's the priest is hanging from a tree. They freak out. The priest, all of a sudden, he looks at them and he looks at the lady, and her eyes start bleeding and her mouth starts bleeding, and she literally pukes up her intestines, like in a ropey, disgusting line, just pukes up her intestines.
Everything.
Dude, and again, with the bad reactions, the whole time the guy is just sitting there just watching this happen. There's a scene where Bob the pervert is hiding out in some car in a garage, and some girl finds him and she's like, "Oh, hey Bob, where you been? How are you okay?" And she's like, "Hey, you want to get high with me?" And Bob's all freaked out and scared because he knows that they think he killed this girl named Emily earlier in the movie. And dude, her dad comes in the garage and finds Bob in there and proceeds to brutally murder him, bro.
Yeah.
But the transitions, dude.
Sometimes it was just so hard cut, like out of nowhere.
And the music too, just hard cut.
Yeah, it was really odd.
Yeah, very jarring. It didn't fit what was going on.
And people could go, well, this movie's a product of its time. It's not. It came out in 1980.
Yeah, there
was incredible movies coming out during that time, even like low budget horror movies. So,
and then they find the priest at the end of the tomb, and Jerry conveniently finds a cross with like a sharp stake on the end of it and stabs it into the priest's body, and then that caused all the zombies to die, and they save the day until they get out of the tomb.
I guess I'll explain. They get out of the tomb, and then
John was the boy's name.
Sure.
Yeah.
John just starts running at them, and then they're like, "No!" And then it freeze frames and ends.
Yep.
I'll forget this movie tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'll never think about this movie again.
Yeah.
I'm sure. I guess if you like just old horror, like crappy horror movies, you probably like this.
Yeah.
Because I know there actually is like a huge audience for that, but that's not for me.
Yeah.
I was confused. I was genuinely just confused.
So messy.
Couldn't put anything together. I still don't even really know what I watched.
This is going to be a giveaway, and I believe this is kind of a pricier tape. Not super expensive, but it's definitely not your typical cheap tape, and it is in perfect condition. So it's going to be a giveaway on the Instagram page, VHS.Voyage. You'll have 1 week from today to enter that giveaway, so go check that out.